All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the video here. We got a reaction video. So, essentially, it's basically been well known for the longest time in kind of the health and fitness space that basically doing cardio with your lifting is essentially going to result in you putting on less muscle, less strength, etc. Like you're sending two opposing signals to your body, so it interferes, right? So you wanted to, if you're going to do that in one day, you'd want to split it up as far as possible in between, with as many meals as in between your sessions, to really get as much results back from your lifting per se, say if you're trying to maximize muscle gain and strength gain. So anyway, this new study came out. I hadn't looked at it at all I know right here is just the title of it. So as you see here, compatibility of concurrent aerobic and strength training for skeletal muscle size and function, and updated systematic review and meta-analysis. So it's just an updated systematic review and meta-analysis, meaning they took a bunch of other research, essentially pulled them all together and kind of looked over all the new research, and this is a newer updated version. So let's see if anything's changed, if they can give us any kind of other tips, or let's just see what's going on. I love to stay up to date on the newest science of everything health and fitness, so I can not only apply it to myself but my clients as well. I'm obsessed with learning, essentially. So let's see what we're getting into here. All right, abstract. Just like my art. So let me shout out my art piece real quick. Let me shout out my art piece. Abstract. Let's get into the abstract, my people. Let's get into the abstract here. Background. Both athletes and recreational exercises often perform relatively high volumes of aerobic and strength training simultaneously. However, it's like some CrossFit type stuff. However, the compatibility of these two distinct training modes remains unclear. Now, I don't see super great from far off. If I get really close to my computer, I can read this like gangbusters, man. So probably gonna lean a little bit so I can read a little bit better for y'all. Objective. This systematic review assesses the compatibility of concurrent aerobic and strength training compared with strength training alone in terms of adaptations and muscle function, maximal and explosive strength in parentheses, and muscle mass. Subgroup analyses were conducted to examine the influence of training modality, training type, exercise order, training frequency, age, and training status. The methods. A systematic literature search was conducted, according to the Prisma preferred reporting items for systematic reviews and meta-analysis guidelines. PubMed, Medline, ISI, whatever that is, Web of Science, Embrace, CINAHL, Sport, Discus, and Scopus were systematically searched. So that's all the places that do the have all that. That's where they got all the meta-analysis from, all the studies from. 12th of August 2020, updated on 15th of March 2021. Eligibility criteria were as follows. Population: healthy adults of any sex and age. Intervention: supervised concurrent aerobic and strength training for at least 4 weeks. Comparison: identical strength training prescription with no aerobic training outcome. Maximal strength, explosive strength, and muscle hypertrophy. All right. Results. What we want, the results, my people. A total of 43 studies were included. The estimated standardized mean difference, SMD, based on the random effects model were 0.06, 95% confidence interval. I don't know what these numbers mean yet. We'll just see what it breaks all these little numbers out here. It's just nothing. It means nothing for us until it tells us what they mean. For maximal strength, explosive strength, and muscle hypertrophy, respectively. Attenuation of explosive strength was more pronounced when concurrent training was performed within the same session. That's contrary to what normally has been shown, right? What does it say? Explosive strength than when sessions were separated by at least 3 hours. No significant effects were found for the other moderations, i.e. type of aerobic training, cycling versus running, frequency of concurrent training, -5/5 weekly sessions, training status, untrained versus active, and mean age. Conclusion: concurrent aerobic and strength training does not compromise muscle hypertrophy and maximal strength development. However, explosive strength gains may be attenuated, especially when aerobic and strength training are performed in the same session. These results appear to be independent of the type of aerobic training, frequency of concurrent training, status, and age. So up here it said, for maximal strength, explosive strength, and muscle hypertrophy was pronounced. Attenuation of explosive strength was more pronounced when concurrent training was performed within the same session. So it's kind of going to be more of those explosive fibers, which are going to have the most potential to get the biggest, to grow the most, but still, regardless of that, it's still saying that it's not compromising muscle hypertrophy and maximal strength development, which again is literally the opposite of basically every other study basically that's been done for I don't know how many years, right? Showing that you do want to space them out, that they do interfere. So honestly, for me, even though this is technically a study and a meta-analysis like overview, I would have to do a lot more looking into this, other studies, and just see how legit this really is. Because again, but not saying it's not true. I don't know, but while the other one showed it's not as good, now looking over all of them, pulling different stuff is showing that it doesn't compromise it, which is really cool. But you know, there's even studies showing basically training for strength versus training for more. Say if you went in the gym, you were training like sets of 3 for chest, but then also on the same type of exercise you were doing sets of 20. That alone has been shown too to be sending, like, you don't get as much gains back from that session in terms of, like, say if you're trying to build strength, because you're mixing the strength with your first exercises with the higher reps, more endurance style with your latter exercise. So it sends different signals to your muscles. So like you're kind of dampening the strength you would get and dampening the muscle you would get. Whether as if you just went in and trained specifically lower reps, let your body adapt to that, you would get a lot more of the strength gains you were going for, right? Or if you went in and trained specifically 15 to 20 reps, whatever, a lot higher volume, you get specifically those, you know, the maximum gains from that rep range, whatever was all for you essentially. So, and then, you know, cardio is essentially the furthest in on the endurance spectrum that you can go. So again, I don't know how much they're really saying train for at least 4 weeks. So I'm not sure if they're saying somebody who's trained for 4 weeks considered as somebody who is trained, because it's saying that the results appear independent. It doesn't matter of the person's training status, which is normally one of the biggest factors. So you take a newbie, somebody who's brand new to the gym, sure, you can throw cardio, you can throw weightlifting, they're gonna pack on awesome amounts of muscle. But compared to a newbie not doing the cardio with it, I would think still that one would put on more muscle, not doing the cardio with it. But then again, I can still see it's still putting on very, very similar amounts of muscle, so much negligible that you would think, oh, it could just be genetics. But 4 weeks, that is not somebody who's trained. That's not somebody who's trained, man. I know there's different levels of it, but when I'm saying somebody who's trained, I would think somebody at least doing stuff for at the very least a year consistently would be somebody who's more like, you know, moderately trained. But that's the studies I really like to see too, or not just the newbie stuff, because a lot of people with newbies, you don't have to be as strategic and stuff with them. You know, you can throw different stuff at them and they're essentially going to respond a lot better and faster than anybody else who's trained anything longer than being basically a noob. Even 4 weeks isn't enough. Because what were those people doing for the 4 weeks? Were they on a perfect, great program for the 4 weeks? Probably not. If we're looking at the majority of people training, if they've just started training 4 weeks into it, they have no idea what they're doing, no clue what they're doing. So, you know, again, this is a study, is showing this, but this is one thing a lot of people, they flash studies online. This is why you just don't take the studies and just run with it 100%. You know, use your common sense some. Well, I'm not saying common sense. Use your knowledge. If you don't have knowledge in this kind of space like I do, you know, you do other research or look more into it. You know, that's why you can watch videos like me or all other people out there that, you know, who do love this and love spreading the knowledge as well. But even though this is saying this, man, I still find it very hard to believe. And again, just under the circumstances too, it's not very strength training for at least 4 weeks. Like that, again, that is literally nothing. That is literally nothing, dude. Not literally nothing, but in the grand scope of somebody lifting, like that is next to absolute nothing. 4 weeks is an extremely short period of time, as far as like the amount of gains you can really get. But still, so it's kind of somewhat, but not really shocked that they put on the same essentially stuff. The only thing they found was the explosive strength was lowered. But I would have thought that would have compromised muscle hypertrophy and strength, honestly, like resulting in them getting less reps, you know, less weight moved for less reps, less volume, going to yield less muscle mass. But so kind of cool. Again, I would look more into this personally myself before I would start recommending somebody if somebody came to me, hey man, I want to build maximum muscle, maximal strength. You know, first off, depending how they're going, we can kind of shoot for some similar somewhat if we want to kind of get the best of muscle and strength. That's the thing. You want to, if you want maximum muscle, train for that. If you want maximum strength, train for that. You're better doing that. And then you can kind of cycle off and do periods of where you're kind of in the middle, like getting somewhat the best of muscle, somewhat the best of strength, somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? You can bounce back and forth, but just about understanding what you're doing and what your goals are. But yeah, I'm still excited to see. Like I said, somebody came to me and wanted to put on absolute most amount of muscle. I would not have them doing cardio in the same session. Just from what I do know of all the other studies, and then also just the fact that the signaling to the body, just that basic principle, like what you do in the gym. That's why your body even grows and adapts in the way it does. That's why different athletes look different from different sports, because the exercising they do, whether that's tennis or cross country runner, their body adapts. That's why they look the way they do, because their body is responding and adapting to the stress that they're placing on it. Their stress just happens to be the jogging or the tennis or whatever. Whereas somebody's a bodybuilder, the stress is the lifting weights, moderate rep ranges, higher volumes, things like that. Whereas somebody who's a power athlete, it's heavy loads for lower reps. So your body adapts to the stresses that you're putting on, essentially. So still interesting to see, but again, that 4 weeks concurrent aerobic strength training for at least 4 weeks, man. So this is basically just saying. So basically, me seeing that, this is a study just showing me, or this meta-analysis was basically just pulled off of basically non-trained people, essentially. And with non-trained people, you can do cardio and lifting at the same time, essentially, and get the most muscle and strength gains. Which doesn't surprise me really. But I think that we're going to hit a point in their lifting as they get out of that newbie phase, essentially. I would bet that cardio in that session is going to start to hinder their muscle and strength gains. That simple. Anyway, that's it for the video. Dropping thing down below you want to see me react to. If I think it's a good idea, I'll get right into it. You drop the link below, or you can DM me like some people do on Instagram. Links below, Kyle Gainey Fitness on Instagram. So shoot them there. That's it for the video. Just wanted to get that out there. Still somewhat cool, I guess, but again, off of what they pulled. So a meta-analysis, they try to find, they look for similar things across all studies they can pull together. And so again, doesn't really change anything in my opinion, even though the bottom line says it does. But you got to look at what they're actually pulling and the what they're considering train and stuff like this. So still the same thing. I don't think that's going to change. That's just like the signals to your body is not going to change from you going and running 30 minutes versus you doing 5 sets of 10 on squat, bench, and deadlift. Those are just opposite ends of spectrum. Or 5 sets of 5 on squat, bench, and deadlift, versus going to run for 30 minutes. Where there's so far on the different ends of spectrum to the signal for growth that you're an adaptation that you're sending to your body. That's just not going to change. And if it does, there's something that people are having to go in and alter genetically or something for us biologically for that to change. So anyway, that's it for the video. Appreciate y'all watching. Stay happy, stay healthy, go make y'all some gains. I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.